You guys, I'm here with my friend Joe from Seattle. Today he just walked in. It was his very first class here at Gracie University. When someone does their first class, we pull them aside, give them that private intro, and we say, hey bros, why are you here and how did you hear about it? He said he did some research, and the next question is, how much experience do you have? And he said, I've done 2 classes. And I said, where? And he told me where. And these 2 classes were at 2 of the biggest Jiu-Jitsu affiliation brands in the world, right? Like everybody knows these affiliations in these brands, and we're not going to name them because there's no need. But I asked, how was it at these schools? And these are the most reputable you can imagine Jiu-Jitsu academies and affiliations. Yes. And 2 different ones, 2 completely different styles at both schools. Yes. And tell me what you told them, Joe, about your experience at the first one that we won't name. Yes. How was it? What did you go and what did you feel like was happening, and how did you leave feeling?
Well, when I went in, it was a very technical class that I went into, which as a beginner was a little difficult. It was an uncomfortable environment for me, right? That we're learning these very technical advanced techniques that I couldn't get a handle on.
You couldn't really contextualize them.
Yes.
It didn't make sense what we were doing or why we were doing it.
Yes.
And you're brand new and you're being thrown in these crazy intricate techniques on his first day. So you leave feeling what? What's the final assessment you made as you were walking out there on that first day?
Very overwhelmed. A little discouraged too, as well. There was felt like there was so much to learn, and there is a lot to learn, but I really needed a solid foundation of what I felt the basics of Jiu-Jitsu.
And you felt that in that setting,
yes,
that foundation would take?
I don't know how long. It would take as long as the instructor felt.
There you go. So it felt daunting to embark on a journey that he imagined would take so long to even get a foundation of basic, we'll call it, Jiu-Jitsu knowledge. Yes. And that was discouraging because you just want to know the basics first.
Yes.
Before you go, and it didn't feel like that pathway existed there.
Yes.
And then you went to another very reputable school. We're talking most reputable, most known brands of Jiu-Jitsu, one of the most known. And you went there, and the techniques you saw in this school was different. Yeah, the first one was mostly no gi. The second one was mostly gi for the class, presumably.
Yes.
And what was your feeling about what was taught in that second class and the nature of those techniques?
Those techniques, I had a lot more fun in this class, but those techniques also, I felt they weren't exactly what I was trying to learn in Jiu-Jitsu. I really want the self-defense and practical application of Jiu-Jitsu, and I was learning in this class techniques that I thought were much more applicable in sports and competitive grappling and Jiu-Jitsu tournaments, which of course
has merit.
Yes, I know Jiu-Jitsu, so any Jiu-Jitsu is
better than none.
Yes,
but that's not what someone should feel when they walk in. Walk in and say any Jiu-Jitsu is better than one, yes, than none. What you should walk in feeling is this Jiu-Jitsu experience resembles exactly what I envisioned Jiu-Jitsu could be.
Yes.
And tell me what happened when you walked in here. You're giving it a 3rd try because you already tried twice and it didn't quite match what you hoped for. Yeah. One was very complex and felt forever to take a foundation. The other one was very sportive and you couldn't even contextualize how that would work in a real fight. And you're looking for self-defense because he cares about protecting himself in a fight. So then you walk in here after some research, right? He's from Seattle. He's just visiting this weekend. He doesn't even live here. Keep going. You walk in. What do we do in the beginning to walk through the experience? Many of them have never been to a certified training center or a Gracie school of ours. Tell them what that experience was like.
Well, I really enjoyed listening to you and the other instructors close the previous class and talk and give a little bit about the philosophy of avoiding the fight and most of self-defense is the 99% of what happens before the first fight or before the first punch is
thrown. So you like that discussion off the bat. You just like the way we were talking.
Absolutely.
And then I pulled you in. I said, first time friends, join me. And then I brought you over and tell them about that experience.
Yes, that was very welcoming. And I really appreciated that as a beginner to the martial art and to the world of Jiu-Jitsu. It just helped me get more comfortable in the training space, more comfortable with my training partners, more comfortable with the instructors, and I think it made me more receptive to learning the techniques.
100%, yeah. You were tied into like what we were doing here. You felt like safe on the intro, and then after this little 10-minute intro, we started the class. Talk about the nature of the techniques we saw today. as part of just today's lesson number 4, what was the nature and how did you contextualize that in what you are looking for in jiu-jitsu?
Well, today we covered, what was it? It was...
Clinch, conservative opponent?
The clinch with the conservative opponent.
For a real fight?
Yes. Oh, yes. I mean, how many videos have you seen, fight videos you see that start like that?
This is it. Boom, 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 boom.
Posturing up to each other, and you can take...
So did that pass your context filter for what you were looking for?
Yes.
Because it was real. We talked about a fight.
Yes.
And day 1, we talked about what you cared about on day 1.
Yes.
And then we went to the ground technique. We covered rear naked choke, strong side, weak side, and the taking of the back. When you're mounted on someone, they roll over in a fight, and you lock them up. We talked about the real life implications of applying a chokehold on someone, how many seconds it will take to work, the carotid artery versus the airway. We talked about these contexts. So the nature of today's topic, both from a context in a street fight and from a foundation of jiu-jitsu perspective, how did those check the boxes for you?
They checked them perfectly. I really appreciate knowing the context for the practical application of the techniques that I learned, and I also appreciate knowing all of the human physiological components to the technique, right? That the rear naked choke is supposed to be a circulation, a pressure on the carotid
even
artery.
Though you can breathe, the blood flow is still restricted.
Yes.
Love that.
That the way my brain works, the way I train, that's really helpful for me.
Love that. So today was lesson number 4 of our Gracie combative system, right? This is someone else's card. This is not Joe's card, but just goes to show you how it works. And I told you that you were able to do lesson number 4 without ever having done 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
Did I uphold that promise?
Oh, yes.
Did you feel like you were missing something to make sense of today?
No.
There you go. That's the beauty of the Gracie combative system, you guys, is people come in, they get exactly what they expect jiu-jitsu to be. They get it in a language that makes them feel like they're in the right building for the right class, for their skill level, and they're getting a nature of a discussion that matches the street fight components and concerns that beginners have, because people who don't know jiu-jitsu are still worried about self-defense implications in real life situations. And then we have our card system. And I told Joe that we developed this because we realized that Americans were falling out of love with jiu-jitsu, specifically Americans who are used to structured learning. They were falling out of love and quitting at such a high rate when we weren't having the systems before the era of Gracie combatives and the structures we now have. They were quitting at such a high rate that we realized we have to add some structure that makes jiu-jitsu as intellectually stimulating and trackable and graspable by a beginner as anything else. They have to be able to follow a structure. So how do you feel when you saw this? And we explain this, we're gonna check off every box, you're gonna do every class, and you don't have to do them in order. That's the best part. How did you feel about the card as an approach to jiu-jitsu as a beginner?
I think it's great. I think it helps you stay on track. I think it helps people who may have an aversion to learning jiu-jitsu or may not have confidence in themselves or in the art, build a little bit more confidence in it, right?
We got you.
Yes, they can look at all of the techniques and they can read about them ahead of time, and I think it doesn't surprise me that it's been very effective.
There you go. And it was so effective in the early 2000s that we then agreed to license and certify schools all over the world to teach this exact same system. Now we have 207 certified training centers. Every student at every single school is on the same exact curriculum as a beginner for one reason: it works. And the best part is once you become a student, as I explained to you, when you're a member at one certified training center, you can travel around the world and visit any one of these certified training centers, do classes there, and get credit for classes taken remotely. And you can drop in for free at any other school up to 30 days and come home, and we're gonna give you credit on your card because the class is identical in South Africa or in Hawaii or in Costa Rica or wherever. You're gonna come back and we're gonna take care of you exactly the same way. And I mentioned to him, hey bro, you live in Seattle? He was like, dude, I don't live here. My mom lives here. I came to visit her, right?
Yes.
He's leaving on Tuesday.
Yes.
And then I said, bro, lucky for you, we have a certified training center in Seattle. Kipros, an amazing instructor, one of our guys, one of our newer schools, but fully certified to offer this program. So I'm gonna invite you. Normally we do a 10-day free trial. You come in, all you can eat for 10 days. That's what you get. Because Joe came down here and he did this video and he helped the world understand from a brand new student's perspective what this is about. You're gonna get 30 days. The whole first month for him is gonna be free up there, and every class you do during the 30 days is gonna count. 100%, all you can eat for 30 days. And Kipros, you better hold this for him and you better uphold this honor, because if not, I'm gonna show up there and I'm going to take care of business myself and make sure you let Joe in the door. But 30-day free trial in Seattle. I want you to experience that over there. And then you're going to call me afterwards and let me know how it went, how the energy is, and if it matches exactly what we're doing here.
Thank you, sir.
Deal?
Yes.
Thank you. You guys?
Thank you.
GracieUniversity.com. Find a certified training center near you. Don't listen to me. Listen to him. Tell him.
Hey, you heard it. This is it, man.
Thank you, bro.